Music is one of, if not the most important elements in cinema. Music can change the feel of a film, sequence, or even just a scene. And compared to other film composers, Hans Zimmer also had an impact on the pop culture and film business. I mean, he's the man who invented this sound. He's one of the most famous composers in the film industry, and there are a lot of great film composers out there. But I think Hans Zimmer has a lot to bring to the table when it comes to scoring a film. So let's see what he made. Hans Zimmer was born on September 12, 1957 in Frankfurt, Germany. As a child, he became very interested in learning piano, but lost interest after 2 weeks. Then at the age of 6, after when his father passed away, he decided to become a composer and use music as his therapy. When Zimmer moved to England at the age of 14, he was expelled from several different schools due to preferring to study music instead of his homework. After finishing at Huntwood House, he began his music career by writing jingles for commercials and playing in rock bands like the Buggles with Zimmer, Trevor Horn, and Jeff Downes. One of the albums, Age of the Plastic, actually had the song Video Killed the Radio Star. But despite the group's success, Zimmer did not enjoy the recording process with the Buggles because he was not happy having to write only one style of music. So after when he left the band, and after Zimmer started working for a recording studio with film composer Stanley Myers in the mid-80s, his career started when he composed with Myers on movies such as My Beautiful Laundrette in 1985, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, and A World Apart. But his big break came when Zimmer flew out to LA to compose the 1988 mega hit film Rayman. After Zimmer worked on the film My Beautiful Laundress with Myers, the wife of Barry Levinson, the director of Rayman, had seen the film and recommended Zimmer to her husband. Zimmer got the call from Levinson, flew out to LA, and it would be the film that would change his life. The plot of Rayman is about a man named Charles Babbitt, played by Tom Cruise. Learning that his estranged father has died, he returns home to Cincinnati, where he discovers that he has an autistic older brother named Raymond, played by Dustin Hoffman. Charlie discovers that their father's $3 million fortune is being left to the mental institution in which Raymond lives. Motivated by his father's money, Charlie checks out Raymond from the facility in order to return with him to Los Angeles, and the brothers' cross-country trip ends up changing both of their lives. Think about this as the predecessor to Forrest Gump, but take out the love interest, historical references, and throw in a buddy road trip movie. And there you go. After being hired, Zimmer got to work right away. Like all Hans Zimmer scores of that period, it is completely electronic and synthesized, but make sure to use an array of different keyboards. With inspiration of exotic sampled woodwind and percussion items, including panpipes, a didgeridoo, and steel drums, which gives the score a wholly unique soundscape. It's very much a pop and rock score, which sounds like something from the 80s, with the Rayman theme mostly being in the synth part in B minor and the flute part in A minor. Putting it all together to create an African style. Zimmer picked out an African style because of his thoughts on the character of Rayman. Hoffman's portrayal of the autistic character, who could be anywhere, Zimmer thought to have the music style woven in the film as an alternative to its typical music style of other films of the same genre. This score would be a departure from the norm, setting it apart from its contemporaries of the decade. Rayman became a huge hit and got Hans Zimmer his first Oscar nomination, and the film won Best Picture.
And the winner is Rain Man, Mark Johnson producer.
Zimmer's African-sounding score took music of film to the next level, and he would later use the same style in a little animated movie from a little animated studio called The Lion King. Yeah, you guys would kill me if I didn't mention The Lion King, but this film was a big highlight in Zimmer's career. Initially, Zimmer did not want to do it because he originally thought the directors of the film, Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers, wanted a more fantasy-like feel to it. But it turned out that was exactly why they both wanted Zimmer to do the score. The first thing Zimmer had created was this iconic opening song. But originally, this scene was going to be quite different. For starters, rather than simply show the animals wordlessly moving towards the Pride Rock, the scene was to feature dialogue. One early iteration would have them sing a prayer in Swahili, but the filmmakers went in a different direction. Instead of the film opening with dialogue, it opens with zero dialogue, just music playing. After they hired Zimmer, they put it together really quickly. The big influence was, well, anything native culture because the film is set in Africa. This really helped Zimmer because he knew an African composer he already worked with before on a similar type of African film he co-produced and scored called The Power of One. He was the male vocalist and co-lyricist behind the song. His name was Lebo M. Lebo and Zimmer created Circle of Life with Lebo leading the African choir, singing and chanting to songwriter Tim Rice's lyrics. Zimmer and music artist Elton John composed melodies throughout which matches the imagery of the animation, allowing the scenes to flow together with the music. Mostly in the keys of C major, but then drops down to an E flat minor towards the end before exploring into the grand finale of the song. When it was time to record everything, all the vocal parts were only one take, and that was it. When Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers and the rest of the crew heard the first 25 seconds of the song, they instantly knew it was right. So right, in fact, that they used it to promote the film in theaters 6 months before it was released. The film was a massive hit for Disney and won an Oscar for Best Original Song and Score. Zimmer would continue to work for many years, which would lead him to meeting director Christopher Nolan to make, well, his possibly known score.
And I thought my jokes were bad.
The Dark Knight has become not only one of the best comic book movies, but one of the greatest movies of all time. Some consider, including myself, the movie to be a little overrated, but there's one aspect of the movie that really holds up, is the Joker. Played by Heath Ledger in his last but most iconic role, the Joker has a very mysterious character background which adds an element to the film that makes the film more terrifying. And one element which adds to the terror aspect of the Joker's character is the musical theme. When Zimmer was writing the Joker's theme, Zimmer recorded, distorted, and combined many unusual sounds. The result was a really more of a tone color that fuses metallic buzzing and screeching sounds with a distant, airy, sustained note. Eventually, out of the sustained note, a second note emerges that gradually slides upwards from a D to D sharp, giving the theme a more appropriately eerie and haunting flavor. which is also the first note of Batman's 2-note theme, and along with the upward sliding note of the Joker's theme, which is analogous to the rise to F in Batman's theme, giving the piece a similar crescendo which is present in both of their themes. The two themes, therefore, suggest the duality of Batman and the Joker in the film. Their themes reflect on their own individual approaches to the problems in society. One is more clear and orderly, the other is more chaotic and tumultuous. Today, The Dark Knight is Zimmer's most well-known and famous score of all time, and Zimmer would continue to work with director Christopher Nolan for several other films. Hans Zimmer may not be as recognizable to as many people, but has made a significant impact that many people do consider him one of the greats. There are honestly a rare few film composers out there that have really made such an impression in the film business. His scores revolutionize how movies should be composed and will continue to do that for the rest of film history.